Chapter 5. Discerning and Interpreting Dreams. The interpretation of dreams, like the interpretation of tongues, is one of the gifts of God. Inspirational dreams without a proper interpretation, or dreams of the imagination with mistaken interpretations, are worthless and possibly dangerous to the dreamer. Many modern psychologists claim that every dream has a meaning, and throughout Babylonian and Egyptian backgrounds, the meanings of dreams were always given the same interpretative analysis. Blood meant money, fire meant a wedding dress was death, a raven an adulterer, and a crocodile meant a greedy politician. Discerning which dreams are inspired and which are merely fantasies of the imagination has always been a matter of some concern, and since most people disbelieve in any dream being inspirational, the Lord has had difficulty in giving revelations through this medium. Yet we may conclude with this fact: there has never been a prophet who has not received revelations from God through dreams. The Lord himself has made this promise by saying, "If there be a prophet among you, I the Lord will make myself known unto him in a vision, and will speak unto him in a dream." Numbers 12:6. Prophets and inspired men, both anciently and in recent times, have been abundantly blessed with the gift of dreams. The great difficulty has been in getting people to believe in this gift and then to get them to understand which dreams are inspired and which are not. As Apostle Penrose humorously remarked, "Now, dreams are very peculiar things. I have had some recently. They were very clear and plain. I have dreamed several times that I had passed out of the body and was in the other world, and I saw things and heard things that seemed to me to be just as plain and just as clear, as if I were actually out of the body. But when I came to wake up and weigh what I had seen, I found it was only a dream. Just what the cause of it was I cannot tell." There are various causes for dreaming. The wise man, as he was called, Solomon, said, "In the multitude of dreams and words, there be divers vanities, and I have dreamed a great deal that was nothing but vanity, and followed by a vexation of spirit." A lady who was a great believer in dreams came to me once and wanted me to give the interpretation to one of them. She dreamed some very peculiar things, and, "Brother Penrose," she said, "just give me the interpretation." I did not want to offend her. I saw there was nothing in them of any particular moment. So I said, "Sister, what did you have for supper last night?" "You know, in England," it was in England, "they often have very late suppers." "Well, Brother Penrose," she said, "I had some fried pork and onions." "Well," I said, "that is the interpretation." C.W. Penrose, Liahona 2284. The editor of the Millennial Star wrote an article in 1853, in which he described one of the keys of discerning an inspired dream from one which is not. Now, one mark of a dream from God is that it is distinguished for the clearness and simplicity of the impress that it makes upon the mind of him that dreams. A dream from the Lord, being always true in all its legitimate bearings, will be so disembarrassed from error and uncertainty to him that has the spirit of truth and lively exercise, that he will know it perfectly in distinction from all false hallucinations or deceptions of the mind. The Lord does not suffer wicked spirits to foul and blot and mar a dream when he wants to communicate his mind and will in a dream. Foul spirits are rebuked and commanded to depart when God wants to indite the truth upon anyone's mind. The angel of God guards the dreamer till a clear and a distinct impression is made, and that impression is of an unmistakable character. It cannot be misunderstood, any more than the light of the sun can be mistaken for the darkness of midnight. Millennial Star, 15291. A dream which is troublesome, disturbing, or causes the dreamer undue grief may not be from the Lord. Maria Burgess had this revealed to her by an angel, and she wrote about it in her journal. I formed an acquaintance with William Burgess, and about a year later, September 1840, I married him. Soon after my marriage, we settled in Nauvoo, Illinois, and helped build a city in spite of much sickness. The Mobocrats were continually seeking Joseph Smith's life. He and Hiram were finally slain. What a time of trouble. That fall I was so low I told my husband to pray for me. Before he returned to bed he prayed for me. I prayed too, asking the Lord to show me whether I should live. I lay free from pain for about an hour thinking of the situation of the church, having to leave in the spring. I was not asleep. The room shone bright. All of a sudden I saw evil spirits. I was scared and was just going to call my husband, when a voice spoke, "I am your ministering spirit." It immediately came into my mind that I had heard the prophet Joseph say while preaching that angels had appeared to him. He said the third time they always answered. I spoke the third time. The Spirit then spoke, "If you were to see me it would scare you. You would not know the things I am going to tell you. You shall be well in the morning, from this time you shall have more faith. You shall have a dream that shall comfort you. When you have a dream that troubles you, you may know it is from the evil spirit. Be careful of your health, and do not do too much hard work. Obtain your patriarchal blessing, This shall be a blessing to you. I asked if Joseph Smith died a true prophet. He spoke, he died a true prophet. Brigham Young is now the man to lead the church. Diary of Mariah Pulsifer Burgess. Inspired dreams may be interpreted in the following ways. 1. Figurative: the seven kine in Joseph's dream represented 7 years. 2. Illustrative: the great image in Nebuchadnezzar's dream was composed of various elements representing different kinds of kingdoms. 3. Literal: a person may see an event just as it will happen. Every detail of the dream will be just as it will occur or already has taken place. Other indications of an inspirational dream may be that the person will awaken immediately after a dream occurs. This gives him a chance to consider the dream, its meaning, and his position in the matter. Secondly, the ideas and message of the dream will be clear and easily remembered. It will be uncluttered and impressive to the mind. Sometimes a dream may be as easily remembered many years later as when it was first received. Interpreting others' dreams is also a special gift. One who is acquainted with inspirational dreams is often blessed with the gift to interpret them for others, since they are both obtained by the Spirit of the Lord. A humorous incident occurred in the early days of the church, when Elder P. Brown attempted to interpret the beasts in John's Revelation. The prophet Joseph Smith remarked, "Elder Pelatiah Brown, one of the wisest old heads we have among us, and whom I now see before me, has been preaching concerning the beast, which was full of eyes before and behind, and for this he was hauled up for trial before the high council." I did not like the old man being called up for erring in doctrine. It looks too much like the Methodist, and not like the Latter-day Saints. Methodists have creeds which a man must believe or be asked out of their church. I want the liberty of thinking and believing as I please. It feels so good not to be trammeled. It does not prove that a man is not a good man, because he errs in doctrine. The High Council undertook to censure and correct Elder Brown because of his teachings in relation to the beasts. Whether they actually corrected him or not, I am a little doubtful, but don't care. Father Brown came to me to know what he should do about it. The subject particularly referred to was the 4 beasts and 24 elders mentioned in Rev. 5:8, and when he had taken the book, the 4 beasts and 24 elders fell down before the Lamb, having every one of them harps, and golden vials full of odors, which are the prayers of saints. Father Brown has been to work and confounded all Christendom by making out that the 4 beasts represented the different kingdoms of God on the earth. The wise men of the day could not do anything with him, and why should we find fault? Anything to whip sectarianism, to put down priestcraft, and bring the human family to a knowledge of the truth. A club is better than no weapon for a poor man to fight with. Father Brown did whip sectarianism, and so far so good. But I could not help laughing at the idea of God making use of the figure of a beast to represent his kingdom on the earth consisting of men, when he could as well have used a far more noble and consistent figure. What? The Lord make use of the figure of a creature of the brute creation to represent that which is much more noble, glorious, and important, the glories and majesty of his kingdom? By taking a lesser figure to represent a greater, you missed it that time, old gentleman, but the sectarians did not know enough to detect you. When God made use of the figure of a beast in visions to the prophets, he did it to represent those kingdoms which had degenerated and become corrupt, savage and beast-like in their dispositions, even the degenerate kingdom of the wicked world. But he never made use of the figure of a beast, nor any of the brute kind to represent his kingdom. DHC 5341. When a dream occurs and the person does not understand it, he should pray for the interpretation. If he does not receive any interpretation, then he should consider it to be without any merit. The prophet Joseph Smith said, "When you see a vision, pray for the interpretation. If you get not this, shut it up." There must be certainty in this matter. An open vision will manifest that which is more important. TPJS, page 161. Sometimes only part of the interpretation may be given, while the rest of the meaning may gradually unfold. On some rare occasions, the interpretation of a dream may not be realized until years later. The people of the Jewish nation were counseled to ask the Lord for the interpretation to their dreams, or, oftentimes a high priest or prophet would render the interpretation of their dreams. Heber J. Grant related a very unusual story about a dream and its interpretation, which concerned the deaf apostle Orson Pratt. I was out in Tuel at a quarterly stake conference. The patriarch of the stake, Brother John Roberry, had told me many years before of having had a dream, as I remember it 30 years before, in which he was on a great vessel, and every once in a while somebody fell overboard, and he finally fell overboard himself. When he struggled through the water, he came out into the most beautiful country that he had ever seen, and he met Brother Orson Pratt there. He asked Brother Pratt, "Where am I?" And Brother Pratt said, "You are in heaven, Brother Roberry." Brother Pratt happened to be out in Tuel at that particular time, visiting the various wards in that stake. Brother Roberry told him of this dream, praying to the Lord that Brother Pratt would not ask him who the man was that he met in his dream. He did not want to tell him that he, Brother Pratt, had to die first. Brother Pratt said, "I will pray about it, and if I get the interpretation, I will give it to you." Just before leaving, he was there several weeks, Brother Pratt said. "Well, I prayed about your dream, Brother Roberry, and I got the interpretation. The people on that vessel represented the people of the world. You said that the majority of the people who fell overboard you did not know. If you will write down a list of those you did know in the order in which they fell overboard, I promise you that they shall die in that exact order, and I promise you that when you shall go to heaven, you shall meet the identical man that you met in your dream. And when you meet him, tell him that the dream was from the Lord, and the interpretation was also from the Lord through Brother Orson Pratt." And Brother Roberry said, "Brother Pratt, I will tell him." While I was still in Tuel as president of the stake, I received a telegram to the effect that Brother Orson Pratt was in a very serious condition of health, and requested that we hold a prayer meeting in both Grantsville and Tuel for his recovery. We did so, and as we were going into the prayer circle room in Tuel, Brother Roberry said to me, "Heber, do you remember my dream?" I told him, "Yes." He said, "Well, it is Brother Pratt's turn next," and indeed, that proved to be Brother Pratt's last illness. Some years later I was out in Tuel at a stake conference at which Brother Roberry was one of the speakers. He was in very good health, although he was an aged man at the time. He spoke with a great deal of power and vigor, and expressed his gratitude for the gospel. After the meeting he said, "Brother Grant, do you remember my dream?" I said, "Yes." He said, "The people have died in the exact order in which they fell off the vessel. They are all gone, and it is my turn next, and I am the happiest man in all Tuel County. I am anxious to meet Brother Pratt and to meet your father and other men and women I have loved with all my heart. By the way, I will tell your father, Brother Grant, that you are doing very well as an apostle." The next time I went to Tuel he had passed on. Improvement Era 41712. The interpretation of dreams can best be appreciated by reading the stories of Nebuchadnezzar's dream, Dan 2:1-49, Joseph's dreams of the sheaves, Gen 37:5-11, and of the 7 kine and 7 cornstalks, Gen 41:1-23. From the scriptures and inspired men, we can learn the value of understanding God's inspirational guidance to men anciently and also in modern times. Dreams are a most effectual means of communication from God. It is imperative that we become acquainted with the methods of determining inspirational dreams from those of common occurrence, and also learn the way to interpret them. Once a person has improved this talent and wisely used it, God will bestow more and greater gifts upon him.